takes a snap. We're going to find a pass out here, but flags do fly. And pretty much pitching and all kinds of craziness to make something happen. Might have been a forward pass there.
Turn off there. I get your mic on. Hang on, your mic, hang on.
What's up, everybody? Thrift Behringer here. Richard Holdridge, Georgia Independent Athletic Association, Giaa.TV. Scoreboard show, baby. What a night here around the state, man. And we're excited about talking about some of these scores, Richard.
Yeah, GIAA in week 4, we had some battles. We've had some top teams in 4A. We've had classifications all the way down to 8-man football and all the classifications in the GIAA. And we even had some teams go down that were heavy favorites.
Yeah, we are presented by the Beck Center live from the Beck Center. We even had the game of the week, which was number 1 FPD taking on number 2 Brookstone. That was a classic. We'll talk about that and more. But first, before we do any of that, we want to say make sure you follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Instagram. The socials are where it's at. GIAAsports.org is the website. It is now time for the Mallory and Evans Team of the Week. You saw we posted on social media last week. We had number 1 basically versus number 2 in 3A. Deerfield Windsor ended up winning that. But we're going to take a break. When we come back from break, we're going to see who that Team of the Week was by Drew Butler here on GIAA.TV.
Real recognize real. Real taste, unmistakably Sprite. Real refreshment, crisp lemon lime. Sprite, obey your thirst.
Hey everybody, Drew Butler back once again, Vice President of Business Development at Mallory and Evans, here to present to you the Week 3 Mallory and Evans GIAA Team of the Week. Congratulations to Deerfield Windsor on your 33-7 victory over Westfield in Week 3. It was a big-time matchup between 2 top 5 teams, but Deerfield Windsor gets the big victory, 33-7 over Westfield. The defending state champions are the Mallory and Evans GIAA Team of the Week for Week 3. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Drew. Great job. And Deerfield Windsor is your Team of the Week. So let's talk about them. 33-7 over Westfield. You're seeing some of the highlights right now. Deerfield Windsor, the defending 3A state champion, and Coach Jake McCrae's team was sensational. 33-7 was the score. They only allowed 7 points on the road, 3 defensive takeaways. Lane Seals, quarterback last year, Richard, 4 passing touchdowns. Gabe Daniel had a receiving touchdown and a passing touchdown. Brantley and Mishalik had 2 receiving touchdowns. Magnum Pipin had a receiving and 2 fumble recoveries, and Gurr Morey had an interception. Just a dominant performance at Westfield by the number 1 team in 3A, Deerfield Windsor.
Big win on the road in Perry. You could see some of the offensive plays as the defense was highlighted in the first part of this. But look at Lane Seals, just great pocket awareness, able to get those touchdown passes. And, the defending 3A champions are looking like they can repeat. They took down a very good Westfield school team and in dominant fashion on the road. I think that Deerfield Windsor off to a hot start at 3-0. And you talk about just that offensive firepower that Lane Seals has. Gabe Daniel, Brantley, Mitching. He had 2 receiving touchdowns. Mangum Pippin had a receiving touchdown. And on the defense, he forced 2 fumbles. And so great job by Deerfield Windsor, the defending 3A champs.
They are your Mallory and Evans Team of the Week. Thank you to Mallory and Evans. Thank you to Drew Butler for their support. And each week we'll have a Team of the Week. And this time it was Deerfield Windsor. I think I may have an idea who may be next week's Team of the Week.
I do too.
But now let's move on from that. And let's go ahead and get into those scores because that's why you're here. All right, first things first, let's start with Westminster Christian Academy, undefeated. They took on Georgia School of Innovation and Classics. They won 33-18 on the road, Richard.
Yeah, great win by Westminster Academy. Georgia School of Innovation and Classics, I got to check. I think I see it. I don't think they're a GIAA school, but it was a good win for Westminster and a good way to pick up a win on the road.
How about Citizens Christian Academy took on Holy Spirit Prep, shut them out 34-0. Good
8-man football.
Citizens win, and they are trying to stay in the playoff race, man.
Yeah, a good win for one of the top teams in 8-man football in Citizens Christian.
How about, let's go to 4A, Pacelli Vikings. Their 2 losses this year to Stratford and FPD, both on the road. They come back home. They dominated Stone Mountain out of the GHSA 41-6. Big win for the Pacelli Vikings. They go to 2-2, back to 500 on the season for Coach Smitty Grider and his Vikings.
Yeah, they really needed this win to get them back to 2-2. They've played a tough schedule. Their 2 losses were to Stratford and First Presbyterian Day, so it was great that now they're 2-0 at home. So that's very important, able to get a big win on the against Stone Mountain.
All right. Vidalia Heritage blew out Grace Christian 51-7.
Wow.
This is also 8-man football, Richard. And Vidalia Heritage got a big win, and they go to 2-1 on the year. Another 8-man football game out at Sherwood Christian Academy, staying undefeated. Team that won it all last year, Rich. 61-0 over Crisp Academy.
There is just something special about those teams down in Albany. You have Sherwood Christian in 8-man football. You got Deerfield Windsor. I guess there was a movie that was inspired by Albany football. I don't know if you've heard of it, called Facing the Giants. I think Sherwood Christian was probably based on that because they really have no fear when they're playing football. And we got to see them in person in Statesboro, and what a dominant win over Crisp Academy over there in Cordele.
Brookwood beat Scintilla Charter Academy 44-0. Had quite a few shutouts here. So big win for Brookwood. And Trinity Christian beat Augusta Prep 28-7. Trinity Christian now goes to 3-1. So big win there for Trinity Christian.
Yeah. So far, I mean, the teams are expected to win. Got big wins, and I'm just excited to see how the season plays out for these teams.
A powerhouse in John Millage, undefeated going into this week. They took on Athens Academy, Richard, and a team out of the GHSA.
And one of the top private schools in the GHSA.
28-14 with the win. So Athens Academy goes to 3-1. John Millage picked up their first loss of the season. That is 28-14. Going to 4A, Calvary Christian, staying undefeated. They're making some noise. Emmanuel Brunson's team dominates. Domination. Tatnall Square, 35-0. They go to 3-0 on the year.
Yeah, this was a great win. Jamar Williams with a touchdown run, a touchdown pass. Sawyer Talbot had 2 big receptions that set up touchdowns right at the goal line. Braxton Wilkinson, what can you say? 3 touchdowns. The defense forcing turnovers.
Yep.
Darnell Hamilton had like 2 sacks. Tatnall goes to 0-4. This was a team that went 7-3 last year that made the playoffs, and they lost a lot of seniors. But how about the turnaround from a team that only won 1 game last year to be 3-0, and they take on another GIAA team next week, Flint River.
So great point with that. Deerfield Windsor was that Mallory and Evans team of the week. They were at home against undefeated Southwest Georgia Academy, a 2A powerhouse, Richard, and they won it 28-8. Another big win for Deerfield Windsor, and they continue to stay number 1.
And they are 4-0 on the season. I think that Deerfield Windsor is going to have a schedule where people see that they're the defending champions, and they're going to want to take a shot at them. But
Briarwood. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm with you, man. But right now they're handling all the tests, and they've dominated everybody that's been in front of them. Big win over Southwest Georgia. Briarwood takes down St. Andrews 48-22. Briarwood goes to 2-0 on the season. David Emanuel picked up a forfeit win. They go to 4-0 in 8-man football, and they beat John Hancock, so that was a good win. How about Southland beating Gatewood, a team that we've seen quite a few times in the state championship, Rich? They beat them 28-25.
Great win for Southland out of Americus. And we know Gatewood has won a championship before at the 2A level. Southland really needed this win and in a narrow victory.
Frederica took down Tift Area in a classic 24-21. This is one of the best games we had here tonight. So good win by Frederica as they beat Tift Area in a battle of 3A powerhouses.
Great win by Frederica. When you look at some of the top teams in 3A, and I can't wait until those rankings come out because I think Frederica is going to be one of those teams that maybe might end up being in the state championship, possibly with Deerfield, Windsor. They're right up there as one of the top teams in 3A.
The game of the week was Brookstone and FPD. That was number 1 versus number 2 in most polls. And Brookstone wins in a great game, back and forth, 31-22. Coach Ian Headley in his first season has the Cougars ranked number 1. And I would not be surprised if they're in the mix for that Mallory and Evans Team of the Week next week. Big win for Brookstone, 31-22.
Brookstone's now 4-0, and they actually will go on the road to Damascus to take on Southwest Georgia Academy next week. When they start getting into region play, having to face a Calvary Christian team that's undefeated, Pacelli's 2-2, Strong Rock getting a big win, Westfield, we know how good they are. I think that Brookstone is positioning themselves to pad their resume so when they could end up being one of the top teams and get that top seed when we go to playoff time.
Strong Rock dominates Heritage 61-7. So Strong Rock goes now to 3-1 on the season. They beat a 2A Heritage. Georgia Christian beats Fullington Academy 34-26. Georgia Christian goes to 3-1 now on the year. Westwood and Covenant Academy, a battle of 8-man football, and Westwood stays undefeated 34-32. How about this back and forth high-scoring affair? And Westwood wins it 34-32.
Yeah, it seems like that could have been decided maybe by a field goal. Maybe you got some going for 2, some strategy there. But it could have gone either way. That was a great battle.
Brentwood takes down Lake Oconee Academy 43-0. Brentwood goes to now 4-0 on the season. And Coach Lord has done a great job. They were former Mallory and Evans Team of the Week.
Yes.
Terrell Academy takes down Mount DeSales 41-35, and big win for Terrell Academy. They beat a 4A Mount DeSales, Rich.
Yep.
Dominion Christian beats Skipstone 28-14. Dominion Christian and Skipstone, who is out of the gaps, Richard. So big win for them. And Dominion Christian now goes to 1-3. So it was a battle of defeateds, and now Dominion Christian picked up the big win.
Great job there. There's the graphic for Terrell Academy. Z3, if you're going a little too fast, I was trying to pull up that graphic. Terrell Academy defeating Mount DeSales 41-35. There is one game that we did not mention because it happened last night. I don't know if you got that.
Yeah,
Bullock, 6 overtimes. Bullock Academy beats Robert Toombs 6 overtimes. You got 2 championship teams.
Wow.
That actually happened yesterday.
And by the way, Bullock stays undefeated. They go to 3-0. Robert Toombs go to 1-3. But Robert Toombs, count them out if you want. They had a losing record last year and ended up winning a state championship.
Still ended up winning a state championship.
So I would never doubt them. Man, that was definitely the game of the week. Bullock Academy, defending state champion. They stay undefeated and pick up a big win. I would have loved to have been there for that one, Richard, for sure. And that looks like, I know I'm missing a few more scores, Rich, and now they just went away from me.
I do have one. Stratford ends up defeating Wilkinson County 40-34. Congratulations to Stratford Academy. Ended up taking on a GHSA school that is a Division I 2A.
How about Flint River beating Central Fellowship Christian Academy 34-27? Flint River,
they play
undefeated.
They play Calvary Christian next week.
Battle of undefeateds.
Yeah.
Calvary and Flint River in Woodbury.
Woodbury.
Heck, we may even make an appearance out there for that one, man.
I don't know.
We're going to go hear Joe Howard and wow.
Wildcats.
First down, Wildcats.
Big shout out to Joe Howard, the voice of the Flint River Wildcats.
Any other scores you want to throw up there?
Did we catch Dominion Christian and Skipstone Academy?
Yeah, we just did that one, and Dominion Christian picked up their first win of the season.
How about George Walton taking on the Kings Academy?
That's the final one I wanted to do. George Walton, undefeated. You know, everybody's talking about Brooks, everybody's talking about FPD and 4A. How about George Walton?
You can't forget George Walton.
They're 4-0. They dominated the Kings Academy 47-14. Good win for George Walton.
What a win.
All right, what we're going to do is take a break. When we come back from break, we'll kind of put a bow on this week, and we'll talk about some of the top games for next week here on Giaa.TV. It's the High School Scoreboard Show presented by the Beck Center.
Imagine a life-changing injury. Imagine the fear and unknown. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team, the only physicians in the area with advanced certification in orthopedic sports medicine, treats sports injuries with innovative techniques. The Houston Clinic has helped nearly 1 million athletes live without pain. Imagine getting back in the game. Imagine the best game of your life. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team.
Real recognize real. Real taste, unmistakably Sprite. Real refreshment, crisp lemon lime. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Welcome back, everyone, to the High School Football Scoreboard Show presented by the Beck Center. Some games next week to look out for. Briarwood hosts Robert Toombs. Briarwood undefeated. Robert Toombs just had that 6 overtime thriller. I think the game of the week is undefeated Bullock Academy, Richard. They are hosting John Millage.
How about that?
That should be a lot of fun next week. Flint River and Calvary both are undefeated. That should be a fun one as well.
Yeah, Brookstone taking on Southwest Georgia Academy. That's going to be a good game. Also, we got 8-man football. Georgia Christian is hosting Westwood.
How about Valwood and McClay?
I like Valwood and McClay. McClay's a team that's out of Florida. They play them every year because of the close proximity to the schools. You also have, how about Piedmont Academy and Loganville Christian? That's going to be a pretty fun matchup. Strong Rock taking on Tatnall. Another candidate for game of the week, actually I got 2 of them, Lakeview Academy and George Walton, and then Frederica Academy taking on Stratford.
Yeah, those are be some games to keep a lookout for, and we can't wait to give you the updated score. Don't forget, it's every Friday night right after the action right here on GIAA.TV, YouTube channel, Facebook page, and GIAA.TV website. From Big Rich, I'm Thurp Behringer. Thank you again to Clint Morgan, Tommy Marshall, and the rest of the crew out there. Deerfield Windsor is your Mallory and Evans Team of the Week. Shout out to Tommy from Colony Bank out there in Albany. I know he was watching that game last week against Deerfield Windsor, and then they just picked up another big win this week. Deerfield Windsor's rolling right now. And we
They
want
are
to shout
rolling.
out Tommy and his son who plays on that Deerfield Windsor team, who looks like every bit of team that could maybe win back-to-back state championships. So can't wait to be back here next week. Can't wait to see who that Mallory and Evans Team of the Week is. How do you find out? You have to follow us on social media. It's huge. And then all the news and notes are on GIAAsports.org. From Big Rich, I'm Thurp Behringer. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.